Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. The remarkable legal circus surrounding Donald Trump stopped off in Georgia this week as the former president surrendered at Fulton County Jail on charges relating to his attempt to overturn the state's 2020 election results. He was only inside the jail for around 20 minutes, becoming the first president in history to have his mugshot taken by police. Now, Trump is the clear frontrunner to be Republican candidate in next year's presidential election, but he's now been arrested 4 times in 5 months. Twice on charges relating to the 2020 election, once due to his apparent attempt to keep porn star Stormy Daniels quiet about their alleged affair, and once over his handling of classified material after losing that election to Joe Biden. So there's a lot to unpack here, but here to help, it's the criminal defence lawyer, Joseph Cotry-Monson. Joseph, thanks for joining me. So, you've seen the mugshot. It went absolutely viral, and it's really helped his campaign. It's helped him to raise millions of dollars. Do you think that actually this is backfiring?
It's very interesting, isn't it? He has to double down on everything.
Yeah.
He has to make the best of it, because it's probably not a situation that he would have picked. Who would have thought we'd be living in these times? Famous mugshots in history: Johnny Cash, Kurt Cobain, Donald J. Trump.
Yes.
I think that this is interesting because the way in which the political narrative, intersects with the legal one.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of people have made the case that what is happening here is that the legal system is being weaponised against a political opponent. Do you think there's any merit in that?
I think there absolutely is, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the evidence is not the evidence. There's a strange system in the US, isn't there, where in order to become a senior attorney, a district attorney, a state's attorney, you have to do it by election in most states.
Yes.
That's a strange situation, because it means that even as a judge, you have to have a political affiliation, and that creates this possibility of, as you say, weaponisation. Having said that, the evidence is the evidence.
But irrespective of the evidence, I suppose you could say that even if, let's say, the legal system wasn't being weaponised here, it is certainly being perceived that way, and that perception is what's going to help Trump, isn't it?
I think that's right, but of course, if he's convicted, then I can't believe I'm saying it. If he's convicted, then none of that will mean anything.
So talk me through the legal ramifications here. Can we have a candidate for the presidency who's in jail?
Yes, we can. The way in which the American legal system works is this: you can be facing charges, for example, and if the public say that you're going to be their commander-in-chief, that is the final say. That is the final judicial and democratic vote, which kind of casts the fate of the nation.
And then, if he were to win the election, could he pardon himself?
That's a difficult question, because he faces 2 federal indictments and 2 state ones. The state ones are kind of duplicated, because we'll see in the Fulton County local one in respect of the alleged overturning of the Georgia results. Well, that's a state one that's in court tomorrow.
Yes.
But in respect of that one, it's not so easy for him to pardon himself, because the governor in Georgia, it's a peculiarity, he doesn't have the right to pardon somebody. The president can't pardon himself because it's a state thing. There's a state committee. My understanding is that they're particularly miserly in that state committee as to who they pardon.
But we are talking about long potential jail sentences here, aren't we?
RICO. These are offences that can carry 20 years easily. And what can you imagine as a worse, more aggravating version of a sentencing exercise than somebody who is convicted of knowingly and willfully attempting to overturn the results of a national election?
So there's something very dramatic about the idea of him running an election campaign from a prison cell, like some sort of gangster.
Yeah.
You know, like. And
this is your scenario. I'm not envisaging it.
No, but you know, it could potentially happen. But then, surely, if he's elected, what, he's going to be president from prison? And
I don't know enough about the Republican Party rules to know whether that, even having received the nomination, that couldn't be withdrawn from him.
Right.
I'm not an American political scientist. I can't imagine a scenario where a sitting president had already been somebody who...
Well, it's also inconceivable. It's completely like a pantomime.
It is.
I mean, don't the American people want some sort of normality again when it comes to politics?
Well, if they wanted normality, they voted Donald J. Trump in 2016. I think you know that I represented the chief of operations of Cambridge Analytica in connection with the whole Facebook data thing here. And, you know, the thing that struck me in particular was in that milieu, you have a combination in the Trump camp of actually hard-working, competent individuals and occasionally these very intense, very confident, slight screw-loose characters for whom anything is possible. As Murray Walker once said, anything can happen in motor racing, and it often does.
So, in terms of the charges and in terms of the evidence, I don't know if you want to give your opinion, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you think it is likely that he's going to be found guilty?
I'm not on the jury, and I can say this. There's certain evidence which is challenging, specifically in relation to the Mar-a-Lago classified documents charge, which I think is probably the second least threatening to him.
Yes.
Well, those audio transcriptions, if they really reflect what was said and the audio matches that, in which he's pointing to classified documents and saying, look, I could have declassified this, but I didn't, I think that's at least a criminal conviction. But is that anywhere near as serious as what's alleged in this case? Absolutely not. And I think alleging RICO is one thing, proving it is another. The reason we have 18 co-defendants is the prosecutor, Fani Willis in that case, will be hoping that people break ranks and plead. If that happens, their guilty pleas are evidence of the conspiracy. They're also evidence that could be admissible against Donald J. Trump, that he knew about it.
Right.
We will expect witnesses to turn. Some may give evidence for the state. If that happens, things could become a little bit hot and spicy.
But so much of Donald Trump's appeal, I mean, it started with the whole drain the swamp idea, this idea that there's a kind of elite mainstream that is working against the interests of the people, that will use all kinds of, underhand tactics.
Andrew, I think you're right. I think it feeds into his narrative. Like I said, he probably wouldn't have chosen this, but his only play is to make the best of it. He says, they're not indicting me, they're indicting all of you.
Right.
I'm the one who stands in the way. He's putting himself in the position of martyr before the arrows even really begin to hit.
It's very clever, actually. And, that mugshot is one of the most viral tweets of all time.
Fascinating.
Millions and millions and millions of people have seen this. He's used something that was meant to humiliate him to his advantage. His interview with Tucker Carlson the other day viewed over 200 million times, far more than any mainstream media outlet could possibly dream of.
Although the views don't necessarily mean support. I'm very, very interested in what's happened in a kind of ghoulish and voyeuristic way. I don't really care what happens to Donald Trump either way. But I have to say, I can't believe we're living with these times. And like many people, I can't tear myself away from the screen.
No, it's a drama and it is compelling. But Joseph Cotry-Monson, thank you so much for joining me.